The fact that we constantly try to engage with the state of mind of other people, what they are thinking, what they're believing, and so on and so forth, is also very relevant for another important aspect of pragmatics and social cognition. It is very relevant to a notion called phase, which is a key concept in pragmatics and social psychology. The concept of phase was originally derived from Chinese into English in the 19th century. In fact, in Chinese, there are a variety of ways to express phase in a social sense. Lian, mianzi. Gei mianzi in Chinese literally means to give face to others, to try to show that we care about other people's reputation. The sociologist Goffman introduced the notion of phase into social theory in the 50s, and according to him, phase could be thought of as some sort of a mask that we put on in different situations, in different contexts, and that changes depending on the audience and the variety of social interaction. We all do strive to maintain the phase that we create and that we try to enhance in different social situations. You can really see it as some kind of a reputation that changes depending on what we are doing, the people that we are interacting with, and so on and so forth. So our social identity is directly attached to the notion of phase. We are emotionally attached to our faces. We feel good when our faces is maintained. At the same time, loss of face may result in emotional pain, resentment, or anger. So in social interactions, we do try to cooperate as much as we can in a social context by using different forms of politeness strategies so that we can maintain each other's faces. What this means is that politeness is much more than a set of conventional rules involving courtesy. It's not necessarily the ability of using the please word in the right context. Yes, it also involves that, but it bears a much more important proto-social value. It involves all the pragmatic behavior that we use to preserve one another's face. And perception of impoliteness, on the other hand, may arise when we do not do this successfully, or indeed when we want to try to cause offense to others, and therefore realize what in pragmatics are called face threats, face threatening acts, as theorized by Brown and Levinson. What is interesting about the notion of face is that it may involve two aspects of social life. There is a so-called positive phase that more directly underpins collective recognition and reputation. This involves the desires to be liked, admired, ratified, and related to positively. Bear in mind, for instance, being overtly ignored by someone is a positive phase threat. It's a way for this person to show that you're not taken into account as a valuable member of society to the eyes of this person. A good example of positive face work could be a student of mine at the end of a lecture approaching me and saying, "You're such a good lecturer." This is a speech act that enhances my positive face. It may be that other people are present in the lecture theater and are hearing what the student says, and this indeed increases my social prestige, and I might feel flattered and pleased to hear what the student is saying. On the other hand, imagine a football player who hugs everyone but the coach after scoring a goal. This will be non-linguistic behavior underpinning a positive phase threat. In other words, the player is trying to show that everyone in that community of practice, in that social group, in the team is important, but the coach. And therefore, the coach will generate implicatures about the fact that this person doesn't like him or her. And at the same time, what happens here bears a social value. So the face of the coach is threatened by this behavior. It's not simply something that the coach will feel directly offended about, but the extended intersubjectivity of the coach will also be involved here. There is also a notion related to positive phase, which is the one of negative phase, which has to do with the desire not to be imposed upon. Negative phase could be impinged upon by telling other people what to do, imposing on them. The very notion of legal rights is based precisely on perceptions of negative phase. And this is a concept that is particularly prominent in Western society. Imagine, for instance, being on a train and people sitting nearby might be very loud. You may therefore wish to try to ask them to lower their voice, and you could try to do that in a very polite manner. So this will be what we call a directive speech act, that is a speech act whereby you tell other people what to do. It's something that generally hearers don't like because it affects their freedom. And therefore, we could try to make this less imposing as possible with an expression such as, could you please lower your voice? Could you please be so kind to lower your voice? Therefore, trying to mitigate the impact of this speech act on the negative phase of the hearer. On the other hand, if you simply realize the same speech act in a direct fashion, such as keep quiet, well, that is very likely to generate implicatures of impoliteness, and people may feel very much offended by your behavior.